Hello and welcome to another episode of Slay the Spire. We are going to try and win with the Silent on Ascension 20, as always. We had Heart wasn't in it type of run, where we lost in Act 1 by taking 12 damage to Jawworm on turn 1, and then Lagavulin did 50 damage to us. We were just really bad against Lagavulin because we took no combat, so you can see. Which was just kind of a, for fun, let's hit some question marks. And if you're trying to win, you should not hit question marks. Before that, we recorded this one, so if you didn't watch this one, you can go back and watch. But this was a really frustrating run where we saw, you know, a dozen card rewards or so, maybe slightly less than average, and none of them had a single card that drew cards. Not counting cards like Quick Slash, which just cycle themselves. Unfortunately, losing Act 1 means that we have only Niao's Lament as an option here. We could take the max HP if we feel like Niao's Lament will not give us value. It's a Guardian Act, which makes me feel like Niao's Lament will be better than max HP. It's kind of a weird analysis, but I'll give you my thought process behind it. Basically, using Niao's Lament to snipe an elite by not taking a lot of combats is probably worse than anything else you could do with Niao's Lament. And the reason why is because combats are better than question marks in early Act 1. So, if we're just taking normal hallway fights, how much damage do you expect to take in the first 3 easy pool fights as Silent? Well, it depends. I just complained to you that I took 12 damage from Jawworm on turn 1. On floor 1, I mean. In my previous seed. That can happen, but that's definitely not the expected outcome. I think the expected outcome is that you take between 2 and 5 damage on average in the first fight, but then the next 2 fights you can reasonably expect to take no damage, depending on your card reward from the first fight. Now here's the interesting thing. We're not as incentivized to take certain... now that I'm saying this out loud, this is bad reasoning. I was gonna say that most of the Act 1 bosses, well, 2 out of the 3 of them, Hexaghost and Slime Boss, you just want to take a bunch of damage for most of Act 1. And any damage common is fine, and you'll take a handful of them even if you see them. But against Guardian, if you just load up on damage commons and you're not conscientious about the block density of your deck, you'll actually lose during the phase where he curls up and deals damage back to you when you attack him. So if you just take like 2 Blade Dance, a Dagger Spray, and a Dagger Throw, and you beat up the elites, you're doing really well, maybe get a couple of relics, maybe one does something, maybe one doesn't. You're actually going to lose to the Guardian, so maybe you pick up like a backflip that you wouldn't normally, or a footwork that you wouldn't normally pick up in Act 1 because it's going to help against the Guardian. Or like a poison card. Any of those kind of Guardian weird picks are like potentially maybe make you worse in just normal hallway fights, because the best way to win hallway fights is just to kill them before they kill you. Just take those damage cards. Be very efficient with your output. However, even with the Guardian, in your first 3 combats, you are still going to take every Blade Dance, Dagger Spray, and Dagger Throw that you see. Which means Guardian does not make you more likely to take damage from hallway fights than any other Act 1 boss, which means when we're evaluating what the expected HP loss is in the combats, the first 3 combats specifically, it should be the same, pretty much regardless of what your Act boss is. Now I just threw out a random number too. I said like, oh, between 2 and 5 damage, your average damage take on the first fight, and then the next 2 fights it'll depend on what you're able to add to your deck in that first fight. If you take 6 or less damage in the first 3 fights, you would rather take the maximum HP because it represents the same or more amount of current health, and then the max HP could matter later. If you end up taking 7 or more damage in the first 3 fights, you probably would have rather have taken Meow's Lament to save yourself that damage. Because current HP is better than... more current HP is better than a smaller amount of max HP. For pretty much... it depends on the numbers, but for most amounts of HP, at the beginning of an act, you would rather increase your current HP by any amount rather than increasing it by a smaller amount just to get more max HP. However, I'm going to be greedy and I'm going to believe that we will take 6 or less damage in the first 3 fights, and that we would rather have the max HP than Meow's Lament. You can see the only potential snipe was like fight, shop, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 question marks, another shop, 1 more fight, and then you can snipe this elite, or I guess the burning elite if you take a 3rd shop. 2 problems with that. 1, or maybe 3 problems with that. First problem, floor 2 shop is terrible. It's just not really what you want to do unless you took a gold reward from Meow. Second problem with that, if a floor 2 shop is bad, a floor 6 shop after you already looked at a shop is even worse. And then the third and probably most important problem with that is that you take 4 question marks in Act 1, which means you're not seeing card rewards, which means your deck's not getting better, and you're going to lose to Lagavulin like we did in that previous run that I showed you very briefly. So, Meow's Lament for a snipe was never a consideration. So now that we are committed to just taking fights, just normal routing. By the way, no elites before the chest. That's really, really unusual, but 3 elites after the chest is awesome. So yeah, we want to go here. So we're going to take all the hallway fights and go here. Okay, okay. We're going to go big deck strats, I guess. Tons of fights, so it's going to be tons of card rewards. Good opening hand, having Neutralize and Survivor ready for the next shuffle is pretty good, although having Neutralize skip the shuffle is not great. Should be fine though. Ooh, we do take 3 damage here. Okay, it's a little bit unlucky. You see that we have a bunch of, just a single more extra defend or survivor in our current hand would have saved us 3 life, but we missed it. So it's not looking good. Oh gosh, take another damage. Uh-oh. Take 4 damage. Can we get a kill? Yeah, okay. We've taken 4 damage total, so it's not looking good for the people who believed that it was better to take the max HP instead of Meow's Lament. We've already lost 4 health. So we would have 4 more health right now if we had... well, we would have... we would have not taken 4 damage if we had taken Meow's Lament. We have gained 6 health, but we've got 2 more fights that we're likely to take damage in because we haven't seen Jawworm yet. Anyway, Bouncing Flask is not a great hallway pick. Deflect is okay, but also not great, but good against the Guardian. Let's take Deflect. Good, it's not Jawworm. Although this fight's not super easy either. We can take none if we neutralize him, but then we let ourselves become weak. But that's probably okay. Or we could just take 1 and kill this guy. Seems probably a little bit better, although becoming weak is such a non-issue since we only have 1 attack left in the deck. So let's let ourselves become weak in order to take no damage and set this guy up to die to the last strike in our deck. He's probably going to debuff us next turn. He's not. He's attacking. But that's totally fine. We can block out. Now he's debuffing. Good, we drew 2 strikes there. Okay, so we could kill him if we get 2 more strikes next turn. We could block out if we get some extra... yeah, we got 2 strikes. Good. No damage taken that fight. Very good. Dagger Spray, also very good. Poison Stab, slightly better against Guardian, but Dagger Spray way better against any AoE fight, which is about half the hallway fights in Act 1 from here on out. And, yeah. One of the elite fights, anyway. Although... this particular attack is probably, well, I was going to bring up the Sentries, but Sentries is already an AoE fight. So Poison Stab's probably better against the other 2. It's definitely better against the other 2. So that's interesting. Maybe I should have thought more about Poison Stab over Dagger Spray. We've got a lot of hallway fights left. We want to be good at hallways. We're going to do the 3 elites after the chest, so... let's try and be better at hallways. This should be Jawworm or Lice. I hope it's Lice. But of course it's Jawworm. It's hard to escape the Jawworm. Okay, here's the question. Deck has gotten quite a bit better since we've added 2 more cards to it compared to the starting deck. Should we take 1 damage? Yeah, we should take 1 damage. So if you're keeping track, we've taken 5 damage so far. So if we took Meow's Lament, we would be at 59 right now. But because we took max HP, we're at 60 instead. So it worked out for us. It worked out for us. Okay, Dagger Throw makes us better against all the fights we need to be better against. Backflip is good against Guardian, but card draw is not very powerful in Act 1 when you only have 3 energy. Although we did take a Deflect, so it is better with this extra 0 cost card. It's not very good against Gremlin Nob or Lagavulin, and Dagger Throw is quite good. 9 damage is good. We need just a little bit more damage. Okay, this is a hard fight. Deflect for sure. Survivor. So we just block out here. I guess let's try and hit Spike Slime. The question is, are we going to use Cunning Potion? And my instinct is yes, since we still have 3 more hallway fights, and this is one of the hardest ones, Exordium Wildlife. It's also one of the ones we're worst against, because some of the other difficult hard pool fights are Gang of Slimes and Gang of Gremlins, and we've taken a very nice AoE card for those fights. So we should use Cunning Potion. So I guess we should just try and assassinate Jawworm. We're going to take a little bit of damage next turn because of the Spike Slime attacking and making us frail. Oh, this is interesting though. We could just kill the Spike Slime and set Jawworm down to 17. He gains 9 armor though, which means we wouldn't be able to kill him even with the Dagger Throw draw. So we would need to block out, but he's gaining 5 life, so that will be difficult. However, it's better than just taking damage on this turn. So we'll see how much damage we take here. Yeah, he's dealing max damage, which is too bad. We're actually so close. We're 3 damage off being able to get him, but that's okay. We drew Survivor, which is actually pretty nice. So we can at least block for 13. We take 4 damage. Really not wonderful in a fight that we used an excellent potion in to still take 4 damage at the end of it all, but it's okay. Quick Slash prepared, outmaneuver. Prepared is worse with Dagger Throw, since Dagger Throw is card draw, but hand size negative, and already... it's weird. Dagger Throw, like, is an enabler of some discard synergies, but if we start taking those discard synergies, then maybe we actually want the Prepared. I think this is a skip, though. These cards are not excellent. We've got some more card rewards. Prepared might help a small bit in the hallway fight, but it might not. And it hurts against Gremlin Nob, and we're very likely to see Gremlin Nob, so I do not want to add Prepared to the deck. Quick Slash hurts against Guardian, and is just one of the weakest damage commons you can take. So again, just because we have so many card rewards remaining, I think we're strong enough for now. We're going to skip this card reward. Wow. This is crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen this hard pool sequence Exordium Wildlife into Exordium Thugs. But geez, that's bad. I also think it's really unlikely, so I don't know the numbers on this, but not every hard pool fight is equally likely to show up. The hard pool fights that are more difficult, I think, are actually coded to show up less often. And yet here we are. Okay. Well, weakening this Slaver saves us more life right now, but dealing more damage to this guy might help us kill him sooner. And we do want to assassinate this guy. We're attacking for 21. So I think what we're going to do... it's tough. We could use the block potion. 12 plus 8 is 20. We'd still be taking a little bit of damage, but then after neutralize, so it's like this is gonna save us 11 life, I think, instead of 12 if we use it right now. But that's probably good enough. Yeah, so now they're attacking for 19. Which means if we wouldn't, yeah, we say, yeah, block potion saved us 11 life, as I said. Okay, take another 8. Would have been nice to draw the deflect there. The other thing I'm thinking about is we way overkilled that slime, which we didn't necessarily know was going to happen. The 3 damage might have mattered if we didn't get the dagger spray and dagger throw. But we could have weakened this guy on turn 1, gotten a little bit more damage efficiency in on him. Let's full block this. And then also not use the block potion, because instead of saving us 11 life, it only would have been saving us 10 life, which is still pretty good. We'll block this. He's weakening us again. The deflect in our deck definitely helps us potentially not take damage in this fight, but now we're going to take another 3. Unlucky. Okay, we got a full block here, which is nice. This slime in our deck is not great. Okay, we got lethal. Okay, definitely a tough fight there. No potion again, a little unfortunate. Blur and Poison Stab. I like Poison Stab just to kind of round out the optionality of our deck. Second Dagger Spray might be in order though. But I did mention before, Poison Stab is better against Gremlin Nob and Lagavulin. And I think we need help against those fights still. It's also better against hallway fights still. No, I'm sorry, this is better against hallway fights. This is better against Gremlin Nob, Lagavulin. We already have one of these though, and this is better. Poison Stab is better against Guardian as well. So definitely an interesting matchup to see these two cards against each other. I think we saw them against each other previously as well. Last time we took Dagger Spray, do we mix it up now and take Poison Stab? My instinct is yes. I've said this before. But I'm starting to feel like the best way to win Slay the Spire is optionality. Giving yourself just more ways to play fights that are potentially very different from each other. However, we are going to upgrade the Dagger Spray, as it's a 4 damage upgrade, a 4 damage AoE upgrade actually. Whereas this is only a 3 damage upgrade and it's not AoE, and this is only... this one's deceptive. On the turn you play it, it's a 3 damage upgrade, but the extra poison is an extra damage every turn the poison is able to proc. Not a good hand. Wow, all of our damage cards on turn 1. That's really bad. 9. Yeah, this is... Do we just take 14 to make sure we can kill this before he makes us vulnerable? No, we can't even kill it, even if we poison stab. That would be 12, we'd still need 15 damage, and we only have 9 damage in our deck. So we just save 5, take 9, oof. This is not a great fight, but it shouldn't be, we should normally do better in this fight than we are about to. And we're about to do very poorly because of just bad draw order on turn 1. Okay, we are vulnerable, but he's fortunately attacking for the small. He could be attacking for 21 right here, which means we would be taking 11. Instead, we're taking 3. And then he's dead next turn, guaranteed. So, we took what, 9 and 3, 12 damage fight? Not great. Hello, Burst. Hello, Slice. Burst doesn't really synergize with anything right now, though it's like obviously the strictly most powerful card here. Not obviously, but rares tend to be, you know, you don't get a lot of chances to pick rare cards over the course of a run. And I do think Burst is a very powerful card. Since we're at 33 life and these hallway fights have been tearing us up, we were unlucky getting the 2 most difficult hard pool fights, and then in what is considered an easier hard pool fight, we just got a really bad draw order. Also, Red Slaver, even though it's arguably one of the easier fights, is not good for us. We would have happier to see Slimes with our Dagger Spray Plus, or Gremlins, or Thief. Big Slime could have punished us in the same way if we just didn't draw our block on the right turn. I mean, it's just really unlucky to draw. You know, we have 7 cards in our opening hand. 6 of them were not block, even though our deck is about half block. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's almost exactly half block. Anyway, let's go back to this choice. Slice. It's pretty good. Getting another 0-cost card in there enables us to pick up card draw a little bit more liberally, and also it just helps in the hallway fights, which apparently we're sucking at. Helps in the elite fights. It's not going to help a ton in Guardian, so we maybe need to start getting worried about the Guardian fight. We've got a chest and 3 elite fights to worry about that. I'm going to make us better against this fight. Okay, this is good. He's not attacking on turn 1. Put him down to 40. He's going to weaken us, but we should be able to get a decent split. Okay, we have a couple options here. Split at 30, which is not a decent split. And take none for now. Or we take 3 for now and try and get a better split next turn. I mean, we definitely get a better split next turn. And taking 3 is not the end of the world. We can't slip the strike in, because that would split him. So if we do 1 strike, we have to do both and split at 30. 30 is too bad of a split. Geez, 30 health medium slimes would actually be really bad, yeah. We'll just take 3. No, I remember thinking to myself specifically, as long as Dagger Throw's not on the bottom, Dagger Throw, Poison Stab, Strike is guaranteed. So, what then? We just block out again? We let him put a slime in our deck this way, but we guarantee a better split since we get the Dagger Throw here into... Fortunately, we drew a sufficiently large number of attacks. We even got rid of the slime, and now these are 14 health people. So we took only 3 damage that whole fight. Not bad. Even with the bad draw order on the, what's it called? Dagger throw being at the bottom there. Okay, Deadly Poison's great here. I don't love Deadly Poison, but it's gonna help us with what we really need help with, which is Guardian and Lagavulin. We don't really need help with Lagavulin, but it's definitely better to be better against Lagavulin. Works well with the Poison Stab, because the Poison Stab can peel an artifact off of sentries, then we can apply the poison. Obviously it's weakest against Gremlin Nob, but this is back to that optionality thing. Definitely takes the stone 100% of the time. We got unlucky and missed the Neutralize, Slice, Poison Stab, and Dagger Throw, but that's okay. We'll see how much we can keep getting unlucky and get away with it. It's a decent opening hand. Poison Stab on turn 1 is good for sure, though missing an upgraded strike is pretty bad. Okay, he's never dead next turn, right? So we don't really want to play a skill this turn if we can help it. Should be dead the following turn, even if we don't Deadly Poison. Is that true? So in this shuffle, we get to do 12, 18, 27 damage. He's at 56, he's going to take 3 from poison, so that's 57. Minus 20, no, not 57, 53. Minus 20 is 33, minus 7 is 26. We don't have a way to deal 26 damage with 4 cards. So we need the Deadly Poison, which will deal 12 damage. Oh, except it means we're dead next turn, right? Because then he'll be attacking for 33. No, he'll be attacking for 28. And then 33 when we play the Survivor. Which, if we do Deadly Poison now, we go down to 22. So Survivor would not save us, but Survivor plus Speed Potion would. We'd live at 2. Is there a way to deal 26 damage with 4 cards? It's technically possible, but it's really unlikely, so we should not. It's way less likely than. It's just way, yeah, it's really just choosing not to play the Deadly Poison to see if we can save any HP. And it's so unlikely to kill in just 4 cards. If we need to deal 26 damage, it would have to be Dagger Spray, Dagger Throw. I've got these upgrade strikes. It's possible, but we have a lot of cards that don't do it, so we're not gonna. I think it's unlikely enough that we should just okay. Let's make sure I'm not crazy here. No, we're not. I was gonna say, does the extra skill actually put him up to 8, or does it put him up to 9? But either way, we still survive this hit as long as we draw the Survivor, which we didn't, so we're dead. Which is too bad. Yeah, the 1 and 6 to bottom deck the Survivor, I knew it was a possibility, but there was nothing we could do about it. Yep. Man, that's too bad. What did we do wrong here? You can see he's dealing 6 damage overkill, but it actually would be a little bit less than that. It would be quite a bit less than that if we didn't Deadly Poison. But, it's hard to kill him without Deadly Poison. I was just thinking if we had saved like an increment of health somewhere. If you remember when we used the Block Potion, I made the comment. Maybe we could have used this to, or like it only saved us 11 life, and then after that I realized it actually only saved us 10 life. based on the way the draw order went. I don't know how likely that draw order was to be, but let's say we had crazy foresight and we saw that it only saved us 10 life in that fight. So now we could have a block potion right now. And would that be good enough is the question. Keep in mind that if we had a block potion right now, we would be at 10 less life. So we'd be at 12, which a block potion wouldn't be good enough, even if we hadn't played the deadly poison last turn. So we lose here not because of any like misplay with the block potion math, and honestly not because of any like greedy card picks. So the only reason we lost there has to be because of pathing reasons. And I guess as Silent, just taking 7 hallway fights is too many, maybe? When your first fire doesn't show up until floor 6? I don't know. It's a little bit unusual to me. Definitely, you don't love this floor 1 pick. But in the easy pool, we actually came out ahead by choosing to take the max HP instead of the Niao's Lament, and we even were then given really good picks here. Dagger Spray into Dagger Throw. Both very good. And certainly the best picks based on what they were up against. Oh, right here, Cunning Potion. I forgot about this. We used Cunning Potion immediately. My logic was we have 7 hallway fights, so in 7 hallway fights you should expect to see 3 potions, which we did, actually. So we didn't even get unlucky with potions. You could see 4 potions in 7 hallway fights. I don't know exactly what the chances are on it. I know that on average your potion chance is 50%. But it's a little less than that because you actually start at 40%, and then it goes up and down by 10% every time you get or miss a potion. So in 7 hallway fights, the average would be 3.5 potions if you assumed a 50% potion chance, but we know that your potion chance is slightly less than 50% because it starts out at 40 rather than exactly at 50. So rounding down to 3 potions on average for 7 floors makes sense. Oh, but it was 8 floors. So no, I would say we did get unlucky on the number of potions. No, I'm sorry, it was 7. This is floor 8, but it's fire. I'm being absent-minded there. Yeah, we were about average on potion drops, the number of potion drops, and we even got a really good one here. Right away, Cutting Potion. So it's possible that this fight was not nearly difficult enough to warrant a potion use. We had Cutting Potion. We could have saved it for this elite fight and saved ourselves like 30 health in this elite fight, no problem. We would have walked out of Gremlin Nob at, based on the draw order, my guess is we would have walked out of Gremlin Nob at 28 HP, which would have been great. However, well, except we would have taken a lot more damage in this fight if we didn't use the potion, right? Exordium Wildlife is no joke. Yeah, so you see what I was saying here. You get to see the names of the fights here. Exordium Wildlife, Exordium Thugs. Really, really hard fights. Not that likely to show up. In fact, I'm going to quickly see if the wiki can tell me what the chances are of seeing each of those fights. Wiki, Slay the Spire. In fact, I could even maybe pull this up so you can look at it with me. Let's do that. That'll be fun. Properties. Okay. Yeah, you can see we want to send to back. Order, move to, oh, just move down. We don't want to, oh, move down. There we go. Okay, and then why is it sized all weird? Okay, good enough. Here's the Spire wiki. Let's see if we can find the... And also, actually, let me move my OBS over here real quick so I can see it at the same time I look at the wiki. Okay. So we want to know... let's see. Act 1. Let's see what it says about Act 1. Remaining encounters. So these are all the... yeah, look, it's right here. And encounter chance. We have Gremlin Gang, Large Slime, lots of slimes, Blue Slaver, Red Slaver. Which, by the way, Red Slaver is a 6.25%. One of the harder fights, which we ran into. Okay, Thugs and Wildlife are not the rarest encounter, but they are 9%. And these are certainly the hardest fight, it's in my opinion. Compared to any of the other fights, these are the hardest. So even the other ones that are like 6%, 6%, especially for our deck, we would have much rather saw Gremlin Gang, lots of slimes, or Red Slaver. I mean, we did see Red Slaver, but we would have rather see Red Slaver instead of seeing Exordium Thugs and Exordium Wildlife. The other thing is we saw them immediately, right? We're actually much better at these fights if they show up later in the run. So let's go ahead and hide this again and go back to the Slay the Spire. We saw them immediately, so that's a 9% chance, and that's another 9% chance, which is back-to-back, less than 1% for you to see these two hardest fights in a row as your first two hard pool fights. If we had seen either of them after the fire, we're way better. We have an upgraded dagger spray that goes a long way. So I hate to look at a seed and just be like, wow, we got really unlucky, but this goes back to a discussion we had in, I think, what might have been our previous run, right here. No, it was this one, when we died to Hexaghost. The title of the video was, should we use Cultist Potion? And in that video, I encourage you to go back and watch it. The post-game analysis is actually pretty insightful as far as the statistics that bear weight on the run. But the conclusion was we actually misplayed this fight by not using Cultist Potion because we had about a 9% chance of losing. And if you greed your resources, or greed your decision making, and give yourself these 9% chances of dying every time you do so, your win rate's going to be well below 50%, which is not what we're shooting for. We're shooting for a win rate above 50% since we're trying to win streak. And it's definitely possible to get a win rate above 50%. Some of the best players have a win rate much higher than that. So we personally are shooting for a win rate at least better than 50%, which you will not achieve if you choose to be greedy with your resources when the risk of dying is 9% or higher. And in this case, it's not exactly 9%. It just, in this case, it happened to be 9%. Let's go back to our run right here. Were we too greedy? What would we have done differently? So I hate to say like, oh, we just got unlucky, there was nothing we could have done differently, but it may be that based on how rare it is to see these two most difficult hard pool fights, one after another, followed by Red Slaver, which, if we look at the list, maybe is the next most difficult fight at just 6%. The chances of seeing specific fights is as the first three is less than 1%. And if you are dying to unlucky rolls that are less than 1% because you were greedy, in our case, what was greedy about what we did? A couple of things. Yeah, I guess like believing that we could spend the cunning potion safely here is like a greedy thing to do. It would have been safer to save it for the elite, I guess. But the other obvious greedy thing we were doing was just pathing really aggressively. I said, I want tons of card rewards, give me all the hallway fights. Which is technically greedier than playing it safe, right? You can get through Act 1 guaranteed if you just dodge every hallway fight you can, and every elite fight you can. But that won't allow you to win the game. So we played the greedy way, and we got punished with what I'm calling a less than 1% unluckiness. Because of the chances of rolling these especially difficult fights back to back to back. If you want to know the actual numbers, I'll pull up the wiki again just to show the actual numbers. But hold on, I want to put this over here so I can see. Okay. 9.375, what a specific thing. 9.375 times 9.375 times 6.25. Oh, I did. You have to do point. I'm sorry. 0.09375 times 0.09375 times 0.625 is, yeah, 0.55% about. So about 0.5%. Now, there are some other things to consider here, and of course, whenever we do these analyses, we have to accept the fact that we're doing some oversimplification in order to learn something about the decisions we made. And there are a few oversimplifications we're making here. I'm going to make another assumption that these oversimplifications kind of balance each other out. So one oversimplification is that we were... Sorry, let me pull the stream back up. Okay, go back to Spire. Yeah, there we go. One oversimplification we're making is that within the fights themselves, we had what was essentially average luck. That we didn't take an especially large amount of damage or an especially low amount of damage over the course of these 8 fights based on what the rolls of the fights were. In other words, if you draw the expected average draw in Exordium Wildlife and in Exordium Thugs and in the Slaver fight, you will take these same amounts of damage. That's obviously not true. In fact, I would say that probably we drew worse than average, and I pointed out what some of those unlucky draw situations were in each of these fights as they came up. In Red Slaver, we drew only 1 block on turn 1. That's unlucky. It just is. Okay. So, but we'll expand that to every hallway fight. Let's just assume that in every fight we drew about average luck for our draw. So in reality, like not only did we only have 0.5% of rolling these especially bad fights, but maybe we were even unluckier than that because of draw order. I'm not going to assume that in our analysis, but just keep that in mind. One thing we're assuming is that our luck within the fights was completely average. And based on what we saw here, that's probably not a true assumption. But I think that's going to balance out the other assumption that I'm making here, which is that these are in fact the worst fights to see. So when I do the math on 9% times 9% times 6%, and I tell you that we hit 0.5% of bad luck to put ourselves in a position to die, the reality is we took 11 damage here because this was an especially difficult fight, but one of the other hard pool fights, an average draw, could have caused us to take a similar amount of damage. Right? So against Big Slime we did very well against. We only took 3 damage. I'm trying to think what the next most difficult fight is, and really These are the most difficult. They just are, right? Gang of Slime, Gang of Gremlins. With an average draw, we probably do fine against. Maybe Gang of Gremlins is harder, depending on what the Gremlins we roll are. So like, yeah, so let's say our assumption that these exact 3 fights that give me my 0.5% calculation number are the worst fights. Maybe that's not an entirely true assumption, meaning maybe we didn't actually get as unlucky as I'm suggesting with this 0.5% number, but I think that balances out the other assumption we're making that we drew completely average luck, which I feel we didn't. I feel like we drew actually less lucky than average to take 12 damage in a fight like this. So when we come up with this 0.5% number, it's like, oh, in a seed like this, to play the way that we played, what risk are we taking in order to be greedy by taking so many hallway fights? And knowing that percent matters a lot, because in future seeds, you need to know, am I doing this because it feels safe enough? Or is it actually safe enough? Because if it feels safe, but it's still giving myself a 10% chance to die, like in this run, you actually need to change your play if you're going to have a win rate higher than 50%. It's actually safe enough because you really know that statistically you should live 99% of the time based on the decisions you made. Then you should respond accordingly. When in a future seed, when you have a chance to take 8 hallway fights, and maybe you have a chance to pivot away because, like, right, you know, you're worried that these 2 hallway fights are going to go badly, you shouldn't pivot away. These 2 hallway fights should not go that badly. They should not be Exordium Wildlife into Exordium Thugs into Slaver, where you take 4, 11, and 12 damage. You probably don't take 0 damage, though we had really good card rewards. So maybe in another siege you would take 0 damage with these same card rewards. But if you had maybe more middling card rewards like you would expect to have, maybe you take some damage here but not this much. And so how close were we to survive Gremlin Nob? We were very close, right? He had like 8 damage overkill? Like, absolutely. In a similar seed, with the same layout, taking 7 hallway fights into an elite should be less than 0.5% for you to die. If you're, you know, playing the fights correctly and playing your card boards correctly. Now, if you were like greedy with your card boards, like you were taking backflip here and outmaneuver here or something weird, you know, then those are the decisions you want to think about. But when you're making like the correct decisions for your card picks, the correct decisions in the hallway fights, you're totally, this pathing is totally fine. And sometimes it will cause you to die, but I'm claiming that that's less than 0.5%. You could get into some more analysis. We're going to wrap up the video here in the next couple minutes, but you could do some more analysis on like, oh, maybe, but you know, maybe your card rewards aren't this lucky, but maybe your potion rewards aren't this unlucky, right? So again, it's one of those things where you can't consider everything at once when you do these analyses, so maybe you just hope that they kind of balance each other out a little bit here on the macro scale. And on the macro scale, yes, I think our card rewards were pretty lucky, but I think our potion rewards might have been slightly below average. But the really big thing is that Gremlin Nob is the worst elite for us to see there by a mile. So it's only a 1 in 3 that we run into Gremlin Nob, and we did. Now I didn't calculate that into the chances of everything else because we need to plan around Gremlin Nob. But again, if you're thinking about like, is your chance of dying really 0.5%? Is that really how unlucky we were? Like, your card rewards were pretty good, weren't they? It's like, well, yeah, but we ran into Gremlin Nob, didn't we? If my card rewards had been slightly worse, but I just didn't see Gremlin Nob, we still probably would have been fine. So again, there's just the averaging of assumptions. Make enough assumptions to give yourself some ability to evaluate the decisions you made, and then move on. Which we're going to do. We're going to move on. Thank you so much for watching. This was another statistics lesson instead of a Slay the Spire run. Maybe you like my statistics lessons. I do really like the statistical analysis part of Slay the Spire. Dying in Act 1 though. Oof. Feels bad. Join us next time where we will be winning in Act 1 at least. Hopefully. I mean, no promises. Maybe we'll get another stats lesson on... Last time we talked about if we should use Cultist Potion and Hexaghost. This time we talked about if you should take 7 hallway fights. We'll see what else we can learn about Act 1 based on what the stats tell us. Last time the stats told us that we were wrong. This time the stats told us that we were right. We'll see what they say next time. Until then, have a good one.